I was stitching a torn artery in a 6-year-old's chest when the photograph came through. The room was chilled to 68 degrees, sterile and bright. Monitors beeped rhythmically like a second heartbeat. My hands, steady as stone, moved with practiced precision, until my smartwatch vibrated, once, then again. 2 buzzes. A family code for emergency. I shouldn't have checked. I never do during surgery. But something about the air shifted, like the faint scent of smoke before a fire. I glanced down. A single photo from my sister-in-law. Caption, "I'm sorry, Damon. You need to see this." I felt my world tilt, just slightly, as though the floor shifted beneath my feet. The image loaded slowly, agonizingly. It was a rooftop restaurant, the Seraphim. I recognized it instantly. I'd proposed there 21 years ago, and seated at our old table, framed by the city skyline, my wife, Camille, wearing the dress I bought her for our 20th, leaning forward into the hand of a man half my age, letting him feed her a chocolate-covered strawberry with a smirk like they were the only 2 people in the world. There was lipstick on the tip of his fingers. Her lipstick. I nearly sliced an artery open. "Clamp," I said quietly. No one noticed the break in my breath. I kept going. For another hour I buried it. I focused. I saved a child's life while my own was quietly bleeding out on the sterile floor. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I planned. By 4:17 p.m., I was in my office. Alone. Lights off. Just me, the photos, and the slow burn of 21 years of lies. More pictures followed. Camille smiling like a teenager, her hand on the man's thigh. Her wedding ring, my ring, was gone. My sister-in-law, Leah, had been at the restaurant celebrating her anniversary with her husband, Evan. She hadn't meant to spy, but how could she not? Camille wasn't exactly subtle. I knew the man too. Theo Mercer, real estate developer. Pretty boy with a jawline sharp enough to cut glass and a history of bankrupting other people's futures to fund his own ambitions. They met 6 months ago at a fundraiser I hosted. Theo was charming, smug, dangerous in the way only desperate dreamers can be. I'd seen him charm board members, assistants, donors. I just never thought, no, that's not true. I did think it. I just didn't want to believe it. Camille had been distant, sexless. Every smile rehearsed. Our anniversary dinner plans had been postponed because of some made-up client emergency. And I believed her, because I wanted to, but that was over. Tonight, I would make them both realize what betrayal costs. Not in tears, in strategy. I didn't go home that night. Home was no longer a place, it was a crime scene. The walls had heard too many lies. The bedroom sheets still smelled like the lavender detergent Camille insisted on. Probably the same one she used after rolling around in some hotel suite with Theo Mercer. No, I wasn't ready to face that space, not yet. Instead, I stayed in my office at St. Helena Medical Center. The same place where I'd performed over 2,000 pediatric surgeries. The same place Camille had once said made her proud. Ironic. I sat in silence, the only light in the room coming from the glow of my laptop. Every keystroke was another nail in the coffin of the life she thought she could keep. The first call I made was to Clark Madison, my attorney, and, more importantly, the woman who'd helped me draft the prenuptial agreement 6 years ago, when Camille started playing fast and loose with our joint finances. Back then, I chalked it up to impulsiveness, a shopping addiction, designer purses, luxury work retreats, suspicious ATM withdrawals. So I had the prenup revised with what Clark called a tactical clause for tactical betrayal. The morality clause. If she cheated, she lost everything. No house, no alimony, no claim on my assets, investments, or future income. Camille had signed it without blinking. Why wouldn't she? In her mind, I'd never leave. I was dependable, forgiving, predictable. Tonight, she was going to learn how wrong she'd been. Clark answered on the first ring. "Damon, I was just about to call you back. I'm activating the clause." She paused. "You're sure?" I forwarded the photos. "These are from 2 hours ago. I want everything filed within 48 hours. Serve her at work, in front of everyone." "Consider it done," she said. and I could already hear her typing. I'll also start the injunction paperwork. You want asset freezes? Every last one. She's not draining a cent more. Clark was a shark in heels. I didn't need warmth. I needed blood. The next call was to Martin Wells, a forensic accountant I'd used once when investigating financial misuse at the hospital. Martin specialized in digging up secrets buried in spreadsheets. Within 10 minutes, I had him on a secure Zoom link. I need everything Camille's touched in the last year: personal accounts, joint assets, hidden credit lines. If she bought a coffee with spare change, I want to know where and why. Martin nodded, scribbling furiously. Do I have your permission to subpoena her business records and communications? Do it. She's been using her firm as a cover for this affair. I want timelines. I want email logs. I want blood trails. Martin looked at me through the screen. Are you planning to confront her? No, I said flatly. I'm going to erase her. By 11 p.m. I had full surveillance access to Camille's burner phone through a simple spyware link. The phone she thought I didn't know about. The one she texted Theo on. The one she used to reserve penthouse hotel rooms and lie to me about client dinners. I watched her messages roll in. Theo, that dress, that smile. I swear, Camille, you could ruin a man. Camille, only if he lets me. Theo, you think Damon suspects anything? Camille, he still thinks I'm at the office. Pathetic, really? Each word burned hotter than the last. Not because of the infidelity, but because of the contempt. The sheer audacity. 21 years. And she thought I was pathetic? Okay. Game on. At 1 a.m. Leah messaged me again. Leah, I follow them after dinner. They went to the Belvedere Grand. Room 1703. I'm sorry, Damon. I stared at the screen for a moment, then replied, don't be. You just helped finish something that should have ended years ago. She offered to go confront them. I told her not to. This wasn't going to be loud or impulsive. This was going to be methodical, surgical, the way I had always done my work. But this time, instead of repairing broken children, I dismantled two grown adults who thought they were clever enough to outmaneuver me. The next morning, Camille texted me around 7:45 a.m. Camille, hey love, sorry again for missing dinner. The Johnson team was brutal. Just heading into another meeting, but I'll call you later. Maybe tonight we can do takeout. I didn't respond. I had already set the wheels in motion. While she was sipping overpriced espresso in some boardroom, I was on a call with the CEO of Devon State Bank, where most of our investment accounts lived. Freeze all joint assets. Effective immediately. Yes, Dr. Royce. I have the court orders Clark sent. Already in process. And the property title transfer? Under review. Your prenup supports the claim. Should be processed within 72 hours. By lunchtime, she would be a wealthy woman on paper with zero access to it. I had taken everything she thought was hers and legally boxed it up with a neat little bow. But it wasn't enough. I needed Theo to pay too. So I made one final call that morning to Rhea Montrose, a private investigator with a reputation for discretion and devastating efficiency. I knew Theo had done this before, jumped from one wealthy, older woman to the next, always with his hand in their financial back pockets. I needed his history, his patterns, his weaknesses. Rhea, I said, voice steady. I want to bury him. I'll need 48 hours. You've got 24. I didn't sleep that night, not out of stress, but focus. By morning, the damage was already beginning to bloom. Quiet, invisible, but devastating. Like cancer caught too late. I arrived at my office at 6 a.m. earlier than usual. I needed privacy. The hospital was silent at that hour. Just the hum of vending machines, the murmur of overnight staff finishing charts, and the distant beep of cardiac monitors in pediatrics. By 6:30, Rhea Montrose had already sent her first batch of findings. Theo Mercer's resume was a masterpiece of fabrication. He wasn't just a liar. He was a professional illusionist. 3 failed ventures in the last decade. 2 bankruptcies, both hidden under shell LLCs. A quietly settled harassment case filed by a former intern. And most damning, a pattern of romantic entanglements with married, high-income women, all of whom had invested in his businesses, then been discarded when the money dried up. Diana Linwood, age 42. Divorced after her husband discovered she'd invested over $400,000 into Theo's fake blockchain company. Elena Harrow, age 47. Fired from her VP role after funneling funds from a discretionary company account to a marketing firm registered under Theo's alias. Melissa Granger, 45. Mother of 2. Lost custody after her financial instability came to light thanks to Theo draining her trust. Each woman followed the same pattern. Each one had thought she was special. And now Camille was next in line. At 9:05 a.m. I received a panicked voicemail from her. Her voice was brittle, confused. Damon, I'm locked out of the joint account. And the Amex got declined at Zara, which doesn't make sense because I barely use it. Can you please call me? Something's wrong with the bank. Oh, and where did the Tesla go? She didn't know I'd already sold it. The title had been in my name. The funds were moved to a legal holding account under Clark's firm. Untouchable. At 9:13, another text. Camille, hey, I'm not trying to panic, but I also can't log into the equity portfolio. Did something happen? Oh, Camille. So many things had happened. And none of them were reversible. Meanwhile, across town, Rhea was already knocking on doors. She paid a visit to one of Theo's former contractors, the man who had worked on the Sky River development project Theo had bragged about at the hospital fundraiser. The contractor laughed bitterly. Sky River? You mean the swamp lot with 3 unfinished condos and half a roof? According to him, Theo owed over $1.2 million in unpaid labor and material invoices. The only reason no one sued was because Theo had manipulated each of them separately, promising delayed payments or selling off their contracts to third parties for cash. Rhea got it all in writing. Photographs, invoices, sworn statements, and best of all, texts. Screenshots between Theo and a woman named Amara Wells, who shockingly was still seeing him. Let Camille believe in the fantasy. That penthouse will never be built. I'm only 2 months away from liquidating her share. Rhea forwarded that message to me with a simple note. Ready for launch? Yes. Yes, I was. At noon, Clark called. Her voice practically sang. The judge has signed the asset freeze. We also have emergency possession granted of the primary residence based on evidence of marital misconduct and financial risk. Translation, Camille had lost the house. Not that she knew it yet. We scheduled the locks to be changed at 3 p.m. Her key? Decorative now. But I wasn't finished. There was one final piece. Theo's business relied heavily on image, shiny, curated press, and rich investors dazzled by buzzwords. But he was sloppy. Reckless. He left digital fingerprints everywhere. With Rhea's help, I drafted a package. A single PDF file. Inside, screenshots of his messages with Camille and Amara. Financial records showing the investments from other women. A list of unpaid debts and lien claims from his projects. A notarized statement from the Sky River contractor. And a breakdown from Martin showing how Camille's investments had bailed out Theo's failing company. This was the match. Now I just needed the gasoline. I sent the file to 4 people. Rebecca Lang, Theo's ex-wife. The woman whose family name still funded most of his fake empire. Lance Carmichael, his largest current investor. The Westbridge Real Estate Board, which had recently nominated Theo for a developer's award. And finally, Camille's boss, the managing partner at Wexley & Rowe. All subject lines were the same. For your protection, urgent, Theo Mercer/Camille Royce. By 3:27 p.m., Theo's phone would begin ringing nonstop. And Camille's office would go quiet. Because the truth wasn't just going to be revealed. It was going to detonate. At exactly 3:02 p.m., Camille Royce, my wife of 21 years, was served divorce papers in the glass-walled conference room of Wexley & Rowe, flanked by her firm's partners, assistants, and a stunned junior associate who spilled an entire coffee trying to step out of the server's way. I had timed everything to the second. She had just finished pitching a multi-million-dollar campaign to a tech CEO when a woman in a dark suit stepped inside with a single envelope and a clipped sentence. Camille Royce? You've been served. Silence. Except for the soft shuffle of paper, the glint of white documents being passed across the table, and Camille's forced smile cracking like dry porcelain. A few of her colleagues glanced at each other. One of them, the intern, whispered something. Her assistant looked down and quietly excused herself from the room. Camille opened the envelope. She didn't even make it past the first page. Because at the top, in clean serif font, Notice of Divorce Petition and Morality Clause Enforcement. Plaintiff, Dr. Damon Royce. She was still staring at it when her phone buzzed again. And again. And again. In my office across town, I sipped coffee as the implosion unfolded. My laptop screen showed a cascade of updates. Clark, she's been served. Video confirms public delivery. No resistance. Looked shocked. Martin, her private account hit overdraft at 2:45 p.m. Last transaction? A declined Uber Black ride. Rhea, Theo's ex-wife, just dropped him from all joint business ventures. His personal assistant is leaking everything now. And finally, the one that made me lean back and smile. Leah, she just tried to use her key. Locks are changed. She's standing on the porch in heels, screaming into her phone. Good. Let her scream. Let her know what it feels like to be locked out of a life she didn't just abandon, but desecrated. Meanwhile, Theo was imploding faster than a collapsing lung. The package Rhea and I compiled had hit its targets like guided missiles. At 3:15 p.m. his board meeting, originally called to celebrate the pre-sale success of his Ridgepoint condos, turned into an ambush. Rebecca Lang, his ex-wife and primary shareholder in Mercer Holdings, arrived with a binder of evidence. Lance Carmichael, the venture capitalist who had funneled $3.8 million into Theo's latest development, stood up mid-meeting and said one sentence that would echo in Theo's memory for the rest of his life. You didn't just lie to investors. You preyed on them. By 4 p.m., Theo's office access was revoked. His company credit cards declined. His phone was buzzing with investor threats, 2 media inquiries, and a frozen Gmail account. He tried to call Camille. She didn't answer. Because Camille, for the first time in years, was silent. I watched from a distance as everything unraveled. She tried calling me 6 times. Then she tried Leah. Then her own assistant. But nothing helped. The house? Gone. The accounts? Frozen. Her reputation? Shattered. At 5:12 p.m., her boss David Jennings requested an urgent meeting. Camille entered the conference room. 37 minutes later, she exited with her badge, her laptop, and a box of belongings. Indefinite leave. Reputation review pending. Clients already asking questions. She walked through the lobby in silence. No car service. No valet. Just her in a $3,000 coat holding a cardboard box like a cautionary tale. I had warned her once, years ago, during a very different conversation. There's a difference between risk and recklessness, Camille? She laughed at me then. She wasn't laughing now. At 7 p.m. I poured myself a whiskey and watched the sun disappear behind the skyline. I thought about how betrayal doesn't always show up in one moment. Sometimes it's drip by drip. A withheld truth here, a fabricated meeting there, a fake smile to get through dinner. But consequences? Consequences are tidal. They don't knock. They flood. And Camille Royce was finally underwater. By the time Theo showed up at her apartment, Camille had stopped crying. She was sitting on the edge of her stripped-down living room sofa, bare walls, one half-full suitcase by the door, and a single lamp giving off the weak yellow light of a life already fading. Her reflection in the mirror had changed. No contour. No gloss. Just a pale outline of who she used to be. Theo barged in, face flushed, shirt wrinkled, his confident stride gone. They froze everything, he snapped, slamming the door behind him. Rebecca pulled out all the board funding. My account's frozen. I've got lawyers threatening civil suits, investors talking criminal charges. And you, what the hell did you tell your husband? Camille stood slowly. I didn't tell him anything. He already knew, she said quietly. He knew everything. I think he always did. Theo laughed bitterly, pacing. He buried me, Camille. Him and that lawyer of his. He had this whole thing planned like a war strategy. You're broke. I'm broke. They ruined us. She stepped closer. Her voice trembled, but it was no longer from emotion. It was from realization. No, Theo. You ruined us. He stared at her, incredulous. What are you talking about? I was going to leave him for you. I was going to invest everything in your future. My marriage, my money, my family. I gave you everything. And I gave you access, he cut in, suddenly cold. I never said I was in love with you. You made assumptions. And I used them. She froze. You're just another woman who didn't know when she stopped being interesting, Theo said, pulling his coat on. You lost your house, your job, your dignity for what? Some fantasy. He opened the door. I don't need you anymore. And just like that, he was gone. I didn't need to lift a finger. Camille called me the next morning from a prepaid phone. Damon, her voice cracked. Can we meet? No, I said. We have nothing to talk about. Please, just one conversation. I know I made mistakes. I don't care about the house or the money. I didn't expect this. No one ever does. A long silence. Then a soft sob. Do you hate me? No, I said. I don't hate you, Camille. But I also don't recognize you. And I refuse to mourn a stranger. Click. I never spoke to her again. 3 months later, Theo Mercer was indicted for wire fraud, tax evasion, and investor deception. When the SEC got involved, his entire empire turned to dust. Turns out the real estate he promised investors didn't exist. Not legally. Not structurally. He took a plea deal to avoid prison time. But he lost everything: money, assets, reputation, leverage. Rebecca sued for every last dollar he touched during their marriage and won. His name became a red flag in every real estate circle nationwide. As for Camille, she moved into a rental apartment on the outskirts of the city. Downsized everything: wardrobe, car, life. She tried to apply at other firms, but no one would touch her. Not after the scandal. Not after the media caught wind of her name attached to a fraudster's paper trail. Her LinkedIn went silent. Her inbox filled with job rejections. She tried emailing me once. Subject: I'm sorry. No message. No signature. I archived it. No response needed. It's been almost a year now. I still work at St. Helena. My patients are younger than ever, their conditions more complex. But I operate better. Cleaner. Calmer. I think pain sharpens a man if he survives it. My sister-in-law Leah now heads our hospital's pediatric donor outreach program. Her loyalty is the kind you don't forget. We talk often. Laugh even. Her husband still calls me the surgeon with the scalpel soul. And me? I'm not looking for revenge anymore. Justice doesn't need rage. It just needs time and precision. Sometimes when I drive past the Belvedere Grand, I think of Camille. Not with anger. With clarity. She thought she could rewrite the rules. Live double lives? Cut corners with people's hearts. But what she didn't understand, and what Theo never learned, is that life isn't a con. It's a ledger. And eventually everything balances. Even betrayal. Even love. Even karma. Because when it's all said and done, truth always writes the last chapter. And I made sure theirs was unforgettable.